Hello everybody, my name is Ibanithos, and welcome to In a Nutshell. Here we're going to be talking today about Nekros. Now, this is, however, Nekros Prime, but I will quickly go in here and make sure that my upgrades are turned off so you guys can see his base performance, as well as the base performance of this weapon. Oh god, I have so many things. Oops. Alright, so Nightfall Whisperer is a Zaw melee weapon. It's a staff type weapon, but it kind of looks like a Reaper's Scythe, so it would play nicely with Nekros himself. I will get later on into some weapons that might be good fits for him. Based on your playstyle, everything's going to change a little bit. So first of all, we're going to look at his baseline stats here. So Nekros Prime has 65 armor, 188 energy, 300 health, and 450 shield, and a 1.1 sprint speed. His rank bonuses give him additional energy, health, and shield. So his armor, of course, is going to be higher than what Nekros himself has. I think around about 30 points. So normal Nekros has 35 or 30 armor. Now, as you can see, this Warframe I haven't polarized or modified or formatted not even once, so it has its baseline slots and polarizations, which is fine. The Nightfall Whisper, however, I've done 5 times. I've done a lot of stuff on this thing. But, yeah, it's one of those things that you don't need to worry about too much. We're just going to show what a melee weapon of its caliber can do. The 36% status is just amazing. Now, Nekros himself is pretty squishy. So we'll start with our level 30 enemies. As normal, paused AI will simulate them. Now, Nekros is often referred to as the Bone Daddy or the Necromancer Frame, or just, Mr. One Punch Soul. So, his first ability here is Soul Punch. A blow so powerful it turns the enemy's very soul into a deadly projectile, damaging all in their path. 50-meter range and at 500 damage. So, these guys lined up, I can just go. As you can see, it's a pretty good knockback. Not the super amount of damage, even in level 30s with a max rank frame, but still. Considering that knockback, and there are quite a few obstacles in the game where you can just kind of knock enemies into oblivion, it's kind of actually sort of useful. But definitely don't mod yourself for power strength just so you can get the punch to be fantastic. It really won't do you all that good. Now, his next ability is, of course, Terrify. Now, Terrify is basically another form of CC in sorts. It casts fear into the hearts of nearby enemies, causing them to run away. Now, it didn't used to, but now it does give armor reduction, which is kind of neat. So it can affect up to 20 enemies at once. It is a 25% duration at a 15-meter radius, and it reduces the armor by 20%. So, let's see what happens now. Oh, ow. As you can see, did a slight bit more damage. You can see the sparkle particle effects around them. Wait, what? Okay. That was odd. Apparently this thing has 0 range. Okay. Get some energy back. So Terrify is a useful thing, and we'll have to see whether or not the percentage of armor reduction debuff goes up as you get power strength or not. If it does, that actually might be a viable build just to run him for his armor reduction, screaming at people all day. Now, his next ability is his most commonly seen ability, and that's Desecrate. Desecrate forces fallen enemies around you to drop additional loot. It does function on power strength. But it also has energy per enemy, so efficiency is good for this. Also range, so kind of a combination between power strength, range, and efficiency is kind of what you want to run with this. Now, you might have noticed his passive over here is he restores a small amount of health with every nearby enemy death. And that's going to be a lot of things, but basically allows him to truck through quite a bit of stuff. Now, Shadows of the Dead is a little bit more visible. So Shadows of the Dead summons the shadow versions of vanquished enemies to fight alongside you for a short period. So the maximum number of enemies you can have out is 7 currently. Damage multiplier that they deal is 2.5 times. So yes, these shadows are dealing more damage than when they were alive. On top of that, they get additional health and shield, but they also get a health decay. So if you go up against and you fight and you kill level 4,000 enemies, yes. Sorry. And you can summon Shadows of the Dead, and they will have twice as much health and shields and damage as the next normal thing, which is great, but they will decay their health at a standard rate. I think that the rate changes based on your power strength, but once again, I'm not 100% sure. So we'll go ahead and summon. Since Desecrate is kind of a meh ability, we'll go ahead and summon. Oh look, a piece of one of their. Now they got these guys. He dies. And his body kind of puffs into smoke. And if I had a high enough chance, then they turn into additional loot. But if you watch, my Lancers are slowly losing their health. There's also a pretty high... There's also a pretty high chance for the enemies to drop health orbs. It's kind of one of the common things for you or Desecrate to actually drop. You'll always know when you're in a group with a Nekros, because you'll see lots of health orbs everywhere. So that's kind of Nekros in a nutshell. So we're going to go ahead and modify him and see what kind of things we can pull up. So he has no polarity on his aura for his prime variant. So kind of up in the air to what you want to do. Most people would run things like Energy Siphon, Rejuvenation, especially if they have his Augment. Corrosive Projection if they just don't want to care. Steel Charge if they're doing weapon. They basically can play with whatever they feel like. So we're going to go ahead and just put on Energy Siphon for now. That's fine. And we'll go ahead and look at the Matter Eye tree. Matter Eye. Both are on Intensify and Continuity, as per our normal kind of throwdowns for that. He has a Vizarange thing, so we could do we're considering that most people are going to be looking at this as an economy kind of build, so you probably want to wrap yourself a Vitality for the extra health. Most people will. It's just going to make things useful, and then if you have 100 Adrenaline Rage, that might also be a good idea to use, but it depends on what kind of enemies you're going up against, so it's a little bit more versatile. Again, Steel Fiber is not the best fun for using with this, because it just doesn't play well. If you have the Gladiator set, and if you want to run melee weapons, feel free to throw these down instead, running, Gladiator Resolve, Gladiator Aegeus. I mean, the extra little armor is not the greatest, but it's at least a little something. And then it gives you a 30% combo chance on multiplier. Now, the Naramon, the dash polarity, you can do Equilibrium, which is a good idea. You can do Flow, which is also a good idea for the extra energy, capacity is always useful. I sometimes recommend Streamline for people, or if you have it, doing things like, Augur Reach, Augur Message, Stretch, just to kind of give you a nice little overall, bonus to all your stuff. So 154% duration, 130% efficiency, 175% range, and 130% strength. Kind of a nice overall, buff. A little bit to the Gladiator. You could switch these guys out for something a little bit more hardy, like for example, in Vazaran, you could do Vitality, and you might even be able to throw in Redirection on there because you have that extra capacity. So that might be a really good idea for some people. Maybe some people want to go Steel Fiber instead, again, or just straight up Vigor. It's up for them. But I always recommend running at least these two mods in almost every Warframe that you haven't really played that much with to give you some extra survivability. So let's look at his abilities. So in this, you can see that Desecrate does not gain any extra loot chance from anything that we just added. So his extra loot percentage does not go up with power strength, neither does the enemies affected by foreshadows. However, as you can see, their damage goes up to nearly 3 times. Now their health decay does go down per second, meaning that theoretically, running a Nekros with a high power strength could be very, very viable. So let's go ahead and see what this would look like if we tried to throw on like a ton of power strength and see what happens. So let's go ahead and use regeneration for this one. We'll maybe throw on some of that, narrow-minded, just because we're trying to push as much duration out of this, and power strength. So blind rage, transient fortitude, intensify. We got 270% power strength there. Let's see here. There's another power strength booster. And that's power drift, so it's 285%. And then we'll go ahead and drop down Constitution for that. And we'll see where we kind of sit with his abilities. So now we have over 5 times multiplier for his shadows, nearly a 4 times multiplier for his health and shield multiplier. The health decay is sitting right about 1.49%. I'm wondering if that is affected by efficiency, and that's the reason why it's so low. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, and maybe we can figure out why. So let's go ahead and take off blind rage and see if that changed how much the efficiency goes down. It looks like the health decay actually went up a little bit from there. If I'm looking at this correctly. So you put that back on, and you're sitting at 1.49. Take it off. I think you're sitting at the same actually. 1.49. So it's not affected by efficiency, but it might be affected by duration. So let's go ahead and pump up the volume for maximum duration here. So get rid of that. We have those two for good duration. Then we'll throw on Augur Message, of course. There's another one I'm missing, isn't it? Oh, of course, I'm missing Prime Continuity. So let's take a look at that now. Yeah, so it's duration. So the health decay is duration. So I have less than a 1% of their maximum health. So that means they can last for about 100 seconds, which is pretty decent if you consider that. Along with the Terrify, which can be very, very useful. You can run him for apparently a couple different ways. At this point, it kind of looks like you can run him for a duration-based build where you're just trying to terrify enemies, and then you're running your shadows to keep them alive as often as you can. You probably want to throw in a little bit more power strength, or at least a little bit more power range for your Terrify build, depending on what you're running. But as you can see, there's lots of ways to play with Nekros. Some people might go, wait, what is Nekros's place? What is he the best for? To be honest, Nekros is really a good survival frame, because what he does very, very, very well is he does survival extremely, extremely well. Because when he desecrates and gets that extra loot down, he can go ahead and just drop tons and tons and tons and... Goodbye, everybody. He can just drop tons and tons of loot, and that loot... Oh god, I'm on fire. And that loot can give, chances for life support modules, which are absolutely a necessity for survival missions. He can get extra, Oxium or extra, credits or extra Morphix or whatever else you're farming for. He's really the farming Warframe. Next to Hydroid, who we talked about earlier with his Pilfrane Swarm, he is the second most used, and probably even in just the first most used, just in combination with Hydroid, farming frame to get just parts and loots and everything else, because he's just good for it. But one thing to remember, again, is you cannot increase his loot chance drop. So it's kind of up in the air. The reason why Nekros is used a lot for what he does is because he can desecrate, just turn it on and leave it, and he doesn't have to worry. People like Atlas, who we talked about earlier, actually has an ability called Orgaze. I don't know if we discussed it back in that video anymore. But Orgaze is scans enemies when you petrify them and gives them a chance to drop loot. That loot drop chance actually gets higher than Nekros. I'm my bad. I probably will upset people if I call him anything else. But if you run Nekros well, he's easier to deal with. He's less intensive than Atlas is, or even Avara with her ability to pilfer and pickpocket. So we're going to jump out of the Simulacrum here, just go back to our orbiter. Yes, we do. And we're going to talk a little bit about how you acquire him and his just a range of augments. So firstly, you acquire Nekros through the Derelict. So in the Derelict, when you do Derelict missions, you might come across Lephantis nav coordinates. Now, Lephantis nav coordinates allow you to build the Orokin Derelict Assassinate key, which you can find in your foundry. Once again, to get those keys, you have to go to the marketplace and type in You type in Derelict, and you'll find the Orokin Derelict Assassination Blueprint right here. And it requires, as you see, Lephantis nav coordinates, nanospores, salvage, and credits, and it's a 1 hour, circuits, and it's a 1 hour crafting time. So it takes a little bit of time, but Lephantis is kind of a tricky boss, kind of an annoying boss for that matter. He has 2 different stages, and he has health gates and all kinds of other crazy stuff, and he's a very, very old boss. He's actually been around and really not been updated since he was first introduced way back when. So he's kind of a boring fight, but every time you fight him, you get an opportunity for a Nekros part. Now, this is just like any other boss fight, so if you run him and you keep getting chassis, that's just how the dice rolls. It's just how the dice rolls. You have a chance of getting his helmet, his systems, or, his chassis all the time. And to actually build him, once you have his parts, once again, you got to go here, type in his name, and purchase the blueprint. He's one of the higher cost blueprints at 100,000 credits, but if you've been playing this game and you're clearing your star map and doing your missions, 100,000 is not too much to drop in a single buy. As you can see, it talks about he uses dark powers to manipulate his enemies, both living and dead. Now, he really doesn't manipulate the dead so much as he brings them back to life. But the living, he can terrify them, he can soul punch them, turn projectiles, which is kind of a neat concept. But Nekros needs a little bit of an update to his kit. I am not super educated with what or how most people play him besides the Shadow of the Dead augment, which I will show you here in a minute. So I'm not the person that anyone should listen to when it comes to how should we change a frame. Now, I believe it is New Loka, or it might be Red Veil. I think it's Red Veil? Red Veil. So Red Veil has... Oh, that's kind of... Red Veil has... See, there's Orgaze, which is 25% chance to drop an additional loot. But with Power Strength, that actually goes up to 100% chance. So, just as a word of warning, that's Ember, Haro, Mesa... Can I get... Neck? So, Soul Survivor, you can use your Soul Punch on a downed ally to revive him with 30% health. So, this is a ranged revive. It's incredibly good. Now, most people don't run it because it just seems like a stupid idea for some people to fill in a slot unless you're playing support, which people don't understand the word of support in Warframe. You also have Creeping Terrify, which they have reduced movement when you terrify them, which can be quite actually fantastic. Once again, building Nekros for a support build can actually make him very, very viable because his Terrify actually reduces armor. Which, now I'm thinking about it, I don't think we actually looked to see whether the armor reduction was augmented by Power Strength, so we'll have to touch on that in just a minute here. Besides that, he's Despoil, which it no longer consumes energy, but consumes 10 health per corpse instead. So a lot of Necroses will sell their souls to buy Despoil because they feel like it's an easier thing to do because, as you notice, a lot of health orbs drop. So instead of having to worry about energy consumption, you just have to worry about that health consumption, which can kill you. Heads up, can kill. His last one is Shield of Shadows, which each shadow within 50 meters takes 6% of neck damage done to Nekros in his stead. So imagine 7 shadows that you have times 6. You're running yourself as a 7, so you got 12. You got 12 is 24, is 36, is right around 40 or 50% reduced damage, which is very useful. Because it's not just damage that he is reduced to him, it's also given to his shadow. So his shadow's going to have a lot of extra health. So those are Nekros' augments, which make him more or less tanky or more or less supporty. So before we go, and before I sign off for the day, I'm gonna take one little look at power strength is at 40%. So what is the armor reduction for Terrify? The armor reduction for Terrify is altered. It's at 8%, so it must be power strength related. So if I go back to that, well, this balanced kind of build, what do we got for armor reduction? 26%. So let's see what is our absolute maximum amount of power strength that we can push out and create. I only have, do I have enough to actually put down? No, I don't. 300% power strength. Let's do that. So 300% power strength. What do we got? A 60% armor reduction. Now, I don't know whether the armor reduction stacks. So if you just if you Terrify twice, they also have no armor, or if it's only a one-time debuff. I'm assuming, just based on simple logic, it's a one-time debuff with 60 enemies affected. As you can see, it could make a very viable option of running Nekros with, you know, instead of rejuvenation, running him instead with something like corrosive protection for that 30% armor reduction. So all of a sudden he screams, and now they have 60% less armor. I believe those percentages are actually additive. They're not like multiplicative or removable. So if you do the 30%, then your 60% applies to the remainder rather than what's there. It's all on the base, so that'd be 90% damage reduction, or 90% armor reduction. My bad, which is pretty decent. That can bring enemies that are really, 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 really powerful down to absolutely nothing for armor. So that kind of has been Nekros Prime in a nutshell. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this video. I will touch on one or two things otherwise. Since Nekros is kind of a light defensive supportish skill set, he needs a good set of weapons to kind of play with him. As you saw, he has a low armor pool, so you want to run something that has a, well, in most cases of this game, you want to run like the Ignis Wraith, or you want to run the Dracoon, or something with a big spread, a shotgun for him. Because he either wants to be played super safe and snipe from a distance, which is kind of hard to do in Warframe, or he just wants to be able to shoot things and kill them, which is the best form of defense, is if your enemy is dead, they can't hurt you. So, thank you everybody so much for watching. If you've liked this video, please leave a like, comment, in the comment section, or subscribe if you want to see more of the Warframe in a nutshell videos. I'll be releasing at least one a week, if not maybe a little bit more than that. I'll also be touching on, possibly today, a topic that came up in the Warframe forums a couple days ago about how the game should be changed. Those kind of videos I do create rants for, and they are 20 to 30 minutes long, and we'll do that another time. But until next time, everybody, I hope everybody has liked watching this video. If you have any derogatory comments, feel free to leave them on the comment section. I'll get to them later. And until next time, everybody, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.